Vale, esto es el documental de Matt Walsh este de qué es una mujer. Este es un fragmento que está subtitulado en español. Yo creo que ya se puede ver el documental en YouTube entero. Pero bueno, vamos a ver este fragmento que dura 6 minutos. Se llama ¿Qué es una mujer? Documental sobre la ideología de género en mejores momentos.
So what is a woman?
Why do you ask that question?
I just really like to know.
What do you think the answer to that question is?
Es un rollo pedagogía de estas. ¿Os acordáis ayer cuando veíamos el manual este de metapedagogía, tal, no sé qué? De no contestarte directamente, siempre dar vueltas alrededor de un concepto y cosas así. Yo creo que es lo que se está aplicando aquí.
I'm asking. That's why I came to a college professor who's this is what you do.
What other kinds of answers have you gotten?
A lot of like this, where you're not answering, and I've gotten a lot of that. So
I think it's interesting that you say that some of the people you've interviewed have been reluctant to answer it, and I think that has a lot to do with the questions that preceded it and the way that you've conducted yourself in the interview.
how have I conducted myself?
How do you think you've conducted yourself?
Tío, es que no responde nada, ¿eh? Es un profesor postmoderno de libro, ¿eh? De primero.
You just really don't want to answer the questions, do you?
I came today very willing and enthusiastic about answering questions about women and gender sexuality studies, which is the work that I do.
You wanted to answer questions about women's studies, and so shouldn't the first answer you should be able to provide is what exactly is a woman?
Well, for me, it's actually a really simple answer, and that's a person who identifies as a woman.
But what are they identifying as?
As a woman.
But what is that?
As a woman.
Do you know what a circular definition is?
I do.
It's sort of like what you're doing right now, where a woman is a woman.
A woman is a woman.
Because you're seeking what we would call in my field of work an essentialist definition of gender. I think it sounds like you would like me to give you a set of biological or cultural characteristics that are associated with one gender or the other.
I'm not seeking any type of definition. I'm just seeking a definition.
Yeah.
Te he dado una.
I gave you one.
I don't care.
Es maravilloso, tío. Es maravilloso, tío. 2022, ¿qué es una mujer? No sé, tengo dudas. Déjame. Tenemos todos que hacer como que no... ¿Qué? Uf, es que es muy compleja. Es un concepto muy extraño. Todos sabemos identificar una, todos sabemos cómo dirigirnos a una, todos perfectamente somos capaces de socializar y articularnos en sociedad, entendiendo perfectamente qué es una mujer y qué no lo es. Pero sin embargo, cuando entra dentro de un marco académico, oye, ¿qué es una mujer? Es muy complejo, hermano.
Care if you think you're a sheepdog and you come into my store, it don't matter to me. Just don't come in and try to shove that shit down my throat.
If it makes someone feel better, what about their feelings?
I don't give a shit about their feelings. I'm old.
Me importa una mierda tus sentimientos, soy viejo. Yo creo que esto es de estar muy basado, ¿eh?
Basado o rojo pastillado.
On the Star Wars universe, Jar Jar Binks, pansexual, do you think? Transgender?
Why would I even care?
If it's his truth.
Well, it ain't true.
You're not a scientist. You're not a gender studies major. Or are you?
No.
No? Okay. How do you know that you're a man?
How do I know that I'm a... I guess because I got a dick.
I got a dick. Es una buena respuesta esta, ¿eh? I got a dick. What you want me to tell you? I got a dick.
Huh. At what age can a child first begin to transition into another gender or identify themselves as a gender?
Sí, a lo mejor necesitamos un basado rojo pastillado por el anterior.
Basado o rojo pastillado.
Bastante fact, Cinder.
They're different from how they were born.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's research and data that show that babies and infants understand differences in gender. Some children figure out their gender really early. And
Okay.
the reason why we are say, oh, that's interesting or important, is because they're figuring out their gender identity is not necessarily congruent with their sex assigned at birth.
Yo creo que los niños, 1, 2, 3 años, están bastante preocupados por eso, en plan de hostias, tío. Están utilizando conmigo pronombres masculinos, yo veo que tengo una pirindola, pero realmente me identifico de otra manera. Es algo que... O sea, cualquiera que haya estado tratando con niños y demás verá que prácticamente una parte muy importante de su personalidad y tal, como que orbita alrededor de todas estas cuestiones.
When the doctor sees the penis and says, this is a male, has the sex of male, that's an arbitrary distinction.
Telling that family, based on that little penis.
Muy pequeño, que ni siquiera estamos hablando del mandoble de Nacho Vidal ni nada por el estilo. Una pene enano.
That your child is absolutely 100% male identified, no matter what else occurs in their life, that's not correct.
With the fluidity of these things, how do I know if I'm a woman? You know,
That's a great question.
I like scented candles. And
Yeah.
I've watched Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Esta tía me cae bien, ¿sabes? Esta tía ya de entrada, simplemente el rollo nonchalant que lleva en plan, me encanta todo lo que me digas.
So how do I know?
Yeah, Matt, that question right there.
Why are you
like
gay?
that
¿Habrá tenido dudas la familia del africano del WhatsApp? Muchas gracias por los beats.
question
Fernando.
is like when it's asked with a lot of curiosity, right? That's the beginning of a lot of people's like gender identity development journeys.
If my mom who gave birth to me is...
Preguntaros, chicos, responderos todos. ¿Creéis que sois hombres o que sois mujeres? O sea, ¿por qué? La tengo pequeña, no sé. Sapiro, yo creo que deberías autodescubrirte más, ¿eh?
a woman. And my wife is a woman, though I haven't asked her. Maybe I should. But if they're all women, and also the boy who sits down with you and says, I think I'm a girl, actually is one, then what is a woman?
Great question. I'm not a woman, so I can't really answer that.
Oh, fuck me, dude.
Great question. I'm not a woman, so
Pero, ¿os acordáis ayer el vídeo que vimos del tío explicándonos, ¿sabes? Cómo un profesor posmoderno, cómo un profesor de albañilería posmoderno nos explicaría a fabricar una escalera? Que es rollo de todas las maneras posibles menos diciéndote cómo fabricar una escalera. Es que lo veo aquí plasmado. Es que lo veo aquí plasmado. En plan, cómo construir una escalera sin explicarte cómo construir una escalera. ¿Cómo te sientes con respecto a las escaleras? ¿Qué te inducen las escaleras? ¿Te hacen sentir bien? ¿Te hacen sentir mal? Reflexiona.
I can't really answer that.
I don't know if you've ever heard of people in the trans-abled community. These are people who are physically able-bodied but feel like they should be disabled or identify as such. For example, a man who has 2 arms but feels like he should have 1. If a man in this kind of marginalized community went to the doctor and said, I want to have my arm cut off, do you think that...
That doesn't have anything to do with gender identity.
Well, it's someone's self-identity, how someone identifies.
That's someone who has and I'll accept it as a mental diagnosis, a psychiatric condition. I don't even pretend to know what aptomenophilia is all about.
Apotemnofilia. Vamos a buscarlo. La apotemnofilia se considera un trastorno en el que personas sanas y racionales expresan su deseo intenso y duradero de amputar una de sus 2 piernas sanas. Oxenomelia, el deseo de amputar una pierna. Es como muy loco esta mierda, ¿no? Estamos metiéndonos a lo mejor demasiado internet por hoy, quizás.
But somehow it's the idea that you're fascinated or charmed by having a limb or part of a limb missing. Okay, I would say that's, pardon my non-medical language, kooky.
You don't see any? You think this is totally irrelevant?
Yep.
So the biggest, broadest question is, but what is a woman?
A woman is a, you know,
Esta parece que quiere contestar, ¿eh?
it's a combination of your physical attributes and then what you're showing to the world.
Bueno, por lo menos da una definición.
And the gender clues that you give. And
Yo creo, estoy bastante de acuerdo con eso.
hopefully those match your gender identity.
The critics on the other side of this, of this issue,
There aren't many, but go ahead.
there aren't many who would disagree with what you're saying about.
Well, you know, the dinosaurs of the world are certainly out there. Yeah.
O sea, a mí me parece que la definición que ha dado está bien,
The
¿no?
world, and then what you're showing, physical attributes, you know, it's a combination of your
No, ha dicho que una mujer es una combinación entre tus atributos físicos, lo que estás mostrando al mundo y las pistas de género que das.
and hopefully those match your gender identity.
The critics on the other side of it.
A mí me parece que está bastante... A mí me parece que le ha dado una definición bastante guapa. Hombre, si el tío está preguntando qué es una mujer, que... No, pues no me vale tu definición, rollo. Entonces no deja de preguntarlo, ¿sabes? O sea, por lo menos esta te está contestando y no te está dando vueltas alrededor de... una mujer es... Ay, amigo mío, ¿qué es una mujer? Soy un dinosaurio, entonces. Entonces el tipo que quiera amputarse el brazo también encajaría en esa descripción como manco. Si lo tiene amputado, sí. O sea, si yo me amputo el brazo, aunque yo tenga, ¿cómo se llamaba? La amperoconflinfungefunger, la apotemnofilia, yo seré una persona manca, ¿o no? No, pero es que como te lo has cortado tú, ya no eres manco. Porque al cortártelo tú ya no ha sido natural, no tienes... No, a ver, seré gilipollas, estaré loco, estaré zumbado, pero soy manco. Boom, te acabo de destruir todo tu argumento. Venga, a tu casa, hermano, pimba. Sassel tiene 2 manos y es un manco de manual. ¿Sassel o Dayo? Es la pregunta.